Okay, I'm out here. I'm going to work on the pistons for the little Blazer engines. I'm going to take some off and then bore out insides and make them a shell, basically. So I'm going to take the camera here and I'm going to put it in my little housing here, and then I'm going to mount it on the lathe here so we can kind of watch what I'm doing. I haven't used this camera in a while. This is one of my little GoPro knockoff cameras. Alright, so we're going to take it over here, and I will put it right here. I just put it on my compound here. And first thing I'm going to do, I have a collet in there with a stop set so that I can take and put the little piston blank in there, push it all the way in, and lock it. And I'm just going to touch off and face off the front of it, or the end of it here, just to make sure it's flat. So I haven't had the lathe running, so I'm going to run it a little bit on the low RPM here. Normally I'd face it off in a higher RPM, but looks like it's running pretty true. I'm just going to touch and take just a light cut on it. There we go. And then I'm going to take the file, knock off the edge. Okay, then I'm going to take it out of there and I'm going to measure the overall length, because when I bore the center of it out, I want to leave 25 thou on the bottom. So I want to measure the length to see where I'm at. And right now I'm at 380. So I want to go 355, correct? So 80 and 25, yeah, 355. So I want to go 355 deep. 355 thousandths deep. So I'll put that back in there. And I don't want to clamp it too tight to crush it down. And back the camera up here, so I'll take the tool out. Take that tool out of there. Put the tool in there. What I'm going to do is take boring end mill. I just so happen to have boring end mills, a few. And a boring end mill is basically just an end mill that's been ground, and the widest point is at the tip, and everything else it's like it's 2 to 3 taper. It doesn't cut on the sides, it only cuts on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plunge in with a small one, and then I'm going to plunge in with, I just happen to have 455 boring end mill, and that's what I want to go for, I believe. I'm going to try it anyway. So, okay, I'll set my tailstock, zero that out on the dial, and I'm going to come up and touch and lock it, and then I'm going to back up a little bit. Now I want to go in 355, so that's 3.5 turns. Oh, I see it wiggling. This is way undersized, so that's okay. I have to wiggle it a little bit. Put too much pressure on it, it's going to walk around a little bit. because the whole end is cutting. That's 100. Just got to take it cool. That's 200. Coming up on the 300. 300. 10. 20. 30. 40. 50, 5. Okay, that does it for that end mill. I'm just using two boring end mills, two different boring end mills. Now that was about a 350 end mill. Now I'm going to go to a 455 boring end mill. And this time, I'm going to knock the edge, the burr off of there with a file. Okay. And I'm going to zero my tailstock out again. This time I'm going to use a 100th feeler to set my tool off of. Just going to put a 100th gauge block, Joe block, in there. Tap it up there until it's tight. Then I'm going to lock it. I'm going to back it out a little bit. So now I have to go in 455 from there. Same process as before. Take it nice and cool. There's the 100 for the gear block. And here we go. That's 100. 300. And now I'm going to have chips in the end of it, so I'm going to have to back out. I'm at 320. So I'm just going to back out and get this chips out of there, and then reset and continue. There's wipe the end of the end mill off, set my 0, come up with the gauge block again. Oops. Right there. Back up a little bit. Pull the gauge block out of there. Alright, here we go. There's 0. 100. 200. 300. 20. 30. 40. 55. Okay, that should do it for this one. Other than the little hole that I'm going to have to put through for the screw. But there it is. And if you can see down in there, nice flat bottom, nice finish on the bottom. The ID isn't all that critical, just so it, you know, it's just to reduce the weight so that it doesn't shake so bad when you run it. But that's 1 piston down and 3 to go. So anyway, I'll do the other 3 exactly the same as what I did this one. And when I come to putting the hole or getting the rest of it done, I'll come back to it. Start making the little wrist pins that go into the pistons. And what I'm going to use is I have a drawer full of rivets that happen to be just the right diameter. Right here, and they're aluminum rivets. I've got a little collet adapter for it. If I can figure out where I put it. Oh, it's rolled down off my surface plate. Basically, it's just a little sleeve, and it's a split bushing. And I'm just going to slide that in, that rivet in there, and I'm going to turn the head of that rivet off. Just going to turn the head of the rivet off. Okay, so I just turned the head of that rivet off, and it didn't clean up all the way around. It doesn't have to. It's plenty good enough. It's just a wrist pin. So now I'm going to take that collet out of there, and we're going to go over to the mill, and I'm going to poke the hole in there and cut the slot. So we'll take the collet out, and then we're going to move over here. Move over to the mill and put it in the collet block here. I have the center of the diameter dialed in, or the center line of the collet block dialed in, so I know where that's at. If I can find the slot in the collet, for crying out loud. There we go. And put the ring on here. We're going to give her, tighten her up, snug her up. We're gonna move it over here, up against my stop. I'm going to put a drill chuck in. Alright, I'll put the drill chuck in over here. Okay, and I'm going to put the center drill into the drill chuck. And I'll move you over here. Okay, so now I'm going to move the machine back on center. The center line of that. That's right there. And we'll move over, bring that center drill down. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball it to the end of the center drill. This isn't critical. So there, the center of that center drill is lined up with the end of the part. And we want to go over 1/16 of an inch, 62 thou. So we're going to go over 62 thou. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 62. Should be right there. And we're going to drill a hole. We're going to spot drill the center drill the hole. Not spot drill. Spot drill is different. And we'll drill it 1/16 diameter. Okay, now we're going to switch to slitting saw or wheel cutter. And that's a 16th wheel cutter. So we'll take this, call it out, and this in. Have to move over. Move the table over and out of the way. A little more. We're leaving it on center right now yet. We're still on center. And we'll bring this down. What we want to do is we want to touch off on the top of that pin. So I'm just going to get it close. And then I'm going to crank the table up until I touch. Alright, now I'm just cranking the knee up until I touch it. Should be able to hear it when it touches. I didn't get very close today. I thought I was closer than that, but come on. Got to be getting close. Huh. Wasn't that far away. Apparently so. Right there. I can just hear it. Okay, so now I'm going to back it off and away from the part. And we know that that's 62, so I want to put the center line. I want to put the center line of this cutter to the top of that pin. So it's 62, so I'm going to go up 31. Okay, and then we're going to zero out my knee. And that diameter is 156. So that means if I want to move that center line to this cutter to the center line of that pin, I want to go up 78 thou. So we'll go up 78 thousandths. All right. Now we want to crank in until we touch. Right there. And I'm going to zero my X. And I'm going to crank it in and away from the pin. And the depth of that is supposed to be 5/32. Correct? Yeah. Yeah, 156 deep. So I'm going to crank the table over 156. There's 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 6. And now we're going to shift the low gear, and we're going to run it across there. And hopefully the pin won't get pulled out. So just slowly crank it across and cut my slot. Okay. Then we can take and get that up and out of the way, and take this and move it to the other side over here. Move it to the other side so that I can loosen it up. And we'll take the collet out of there. And then go back over to the lathe. Now we're going to go back over the lathe though. And I'm going to set you back up here on top of the whoa. Alright. Now I'll put the collet back into the lathe. And I'm going to pull that pin out of there, and I'll have to deburr it up to get it back into this sleeve. We'll lay the sleeve over here on the tool post and grab a file and give it a little bit of a quick deburr. I'm just knocking the burrs off with a little file here. I was going to run, I looked for some nails, finishing nails, the size that actually called this out, and I do not have that size. I was thinking about just turning some brass down, and then I thought, nah, I'm going to run them to Menards tomorrow and see if I can't get some nails for the valve for the valve rod. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this in, and I want to leave it. So I should probably mark that, at what length I want to. So what I'll do is I'll just take and put a mark on here, or put a blue ink pen on it, and then the total length of that body is supposed to be 234. So I'm just going to put a line on there at 234. I just put a line, scribed a little line on it. Now I can put it into this, what did I do with the sleeve? Alright, I can put it into the sleeve up to that line, or close to it. Alright, and I'll clamp it in here and icy collet. And now I will turn that extra off, the extra length, and it's right up to the collet, so I can just like that. Then I'll further drill it. Set and drill for the 172 diameter, or thread. Okay, now I'll put my tap, my 172 tap, in the drill chuck, so that I can still turn it. It's nice, it's loose. The drill chuck will just guide it so that I don't break it off. And I'll put some Molly D on it. And I will thread that. You can feel when it's through because it hits that slot, and tap is just a little bit bigger, and you can feel it hitting that slot on the other side, so I know I'm through. Back it out of there. I'll have to get there we go. And there it is. Push it out. Set this up here so I don't lose it. There's one done. Right there. So now, instead of putting a threaded portion on, I'm putting a screw through the piston and into it. It's a lot easier than either single pointing or running a die, which I don't have a die for that anyway. A 172, I'd have to order a die, or try to single point, and I'm not going to single point that up to a shoulder on here.